this is Jim Weiss. Welcome to Reincarnation, Life After Life. For the last 35 years, I've been helping men and women, and some children of all backgrounds and ages, relive their past lives. We relive our past lives for a variety of reasons, but the main question people ask me is, how is it possible to relive your past life? We live in a very organized, black and white world. We're educated, we have logical minds, and we use our reason. How is it possible? Well, sometimes our education gets in the way. There's more to life and reality than meets the eye. Quantum physics, which deals with the movement of small particles, is proving that more and more. One of the main ways people trip into their past life is accidentally. Fever, illness, trauma, excitement, any kind of something out of the ordinary, a death of a relative, could trigger a past life memory from the subconscious mind. For example, a young lady by the name of Diana, we'll call her Diana, came to see me, says, Jim, several months ago, I had bronchitis. I couldn't get out of bed. I was so sick. I was trying to fall asleep, and I saw myself in 1942 laying on the beach at Coney Island. The man next to me, I knew was going to be my husband. I was a sophomore at Brooklyn College studying to become a teacher. I became a teacher. I married the man. I have a son and daughter who are still alive today. I then saw myself dying in 1961 of breast cancer. How is that possible? Well, upon further checking, such a person, as she claimed to have been, did go to Brooklyn College and graduate in 1945, did teach in a local public school, and was married to that man. Coincidence? Not likely. Another situation, one of my dear clients, a man by the name of Mark, he's a fireman. He said, Jim, I was running out of a building, it was collapsing, we were told to get out of the building immediately. I saw myself on Omaha Beach in 1945, dying in an explosion. My best friend was next to me, we died together. I checked the records, and there was such a person who died at that time and place. How is that totally possible? Well, we're tripping into past lives. Lori had an emotional problem, very serious breakup with her boyfriend. She came to me in tears and said, Jim, our problem is my boyfriend broke up with me, but it's beyond that. I saw myself at night, I'm laying in bed trying to fall asleep, and I saw myself back in 1947. I'm dying from complications of polio. I contracted some kind of lung problem, and I couldn't breathe anymore, and it went into an infection, and I died in 1948. I lived in Brooklyn near the Gowanus with my family. And I saw the name in the newspaper. I found it. How is that possible? Well, I explained to her that our part of our mind never dies. Later in the workshop, I'll be talking more about that. But right now, address ourselves to how is it possible? Another group of people who run into their past lives very easily are children. Between the age of 2.5 and 8, children remember their past lives. Why? Because it wasn't so long ago they were born before, and their minds are not encumbered by problems, stress, tension, worries as ours are. For example, as a case of a boy in 1991, a police officer shot in New York City right through the heart. He dies. A year and a half later, his daughter gives birth to a baby boy. The baby boy is about 2.5, maybe 3. He says, you're not my mother. I'm your father. I was shot through the heart. I came back to you. And the child goes through all the family history of what they've done, things he could possibly not know about his dead wife, about the family, about people going back another generation or two. The daughter's mouth hung open. How could this possibly be? And yet it was. These are on record. Another interesting case. A young boy born in Philadelphia to a relatively well-off family. When he's 2.5 years old, he says, Mom, I don't belong here. I live in Manhattan. My husband's in Manhattan. I've got to get back to Manhattan. Well, after hearing this for 6 or 7 months, the parents say, okay, let's see where this kid's taking us. Sure enough, he goes right to an apartment in Midtown, rings the bell in an apartment building, man answers the door and says, I'm your wife, I've come back. My wife's dead, you're a kid, how can you be my wife? I'm your wife, let me in. He decorated the apartment since I was gone. What happened to the green curtains? What happened? He goes through details. Now there's a 3-year-old child going through details of things that have happened in the apartment. Where's our children? They're in college. What happened to my friend Michael? What happened to this one? It goes on and on. How could you possibly know this? You're 2.5, 3. I'm your wife. Did you remarry? Yes, I remarried Sandy downstairs. That woman? I hated her. How could you possibly marry her? I had no use for that person. And she came into my house. Where is she now? Tell her to leave. I'm back. You're not back. Who is this? A pro? A joke? No. Nobody can understand why, but he knew every detail. How could possibly a child of 3 years old know all the details of something's going on like that? Well, a man by the name of Dr. Stevenson in Virginia was interviewing over 250,000 children about past lives. About 70% of these children proved to have actually had prior lives. They remembered prior lives. Dr. Jim Weiss hypnotized many people. Among them was a woman named Kathy, who had phobias and fears of closed places. Upon hypnotizing her, she started speaking German. How could this possibly be? She never left New York, and she's speaking fluent German. She tells him that this is 1853, and my mother and father were abusive people. They'd locked me in a closet for long periods of time. I became very fearful and anxious. Even as an adult in Germany, I had a very dreadful time with them until they died off. I rarely left the house. Once she knew this young lady was able to start rehabilitating and letting go of her fear and her anxiety. According to Dr. Weiss, your soul is really your disembodied mind which returns to its molecular form. In other words, energy cannot be destroyed or created. Our mind lives, survives us, but in a different form to be born again. When your body dies, consciousness continues even when your body is no longer with it. Dr. Sigmund Freud, who we all know about, once described the human mind as a functioning on different levels. Among them is what is called the unconscious mind, of which we are not aware. It stores all our experiences and causes us to act the way we do. It also stores our past life memories. That's the beauty of it. Freud continued by stating, by accessing the information stored in our subconscious, we can learn who we really are, our true identity. As I stated previously, we are the sum total of all our past lives. Also, when speaking of reincarnation, we must consider the laws of physics, which state that matter cannot be destroyed nor created. If you were to take a table and put it in a very hot furnace and burn it, and put some kind of a covering over the top of the chimney of the furnace, you would have the table but in a different form. That is why we are able to reincarnate. Our energy, our essence, call it the soul, the consciousness is what reincarnates. That's the part. How, when, and why, that I do not know, nor does anyone for that matter, but it proves. For example, Dr. Mooney wrote a book called Life After Life. It's about people who come close to dying, near death. Matter of fact, some are clinically dead, and they all see themselves going down into a long tunnel and meeting relatives or whomever. In every country, it is the same. Everyone has the same experience. Very little deviation from the norm. They all have the same experience about going down a light, which leads him to believe that when we die, our consciousness defies us. And he states that Since our consciousness survives us, it is quite possible and likely that we do reincarnate into another body. It's the essence of us. Why reincarnate? It depends who you talk to. Many theologians say we reincarnate time and time again to do it right, to elevate the level of consciousness, so that we can unite ultimately with the ultimate consciousness, or the Godhead as it's called. Hinduism, Judaism, and Buddhism have that same theory. We reincarnate to improve the soul, to improve it. Each incarnation is supposed to help us elevate our level of consciousness. Next question, most important, is how do I live? How can I reincarnate? How do I do it? How do I get to this information? It's like a computer. You have to have the code to get into the computer. Once you have the code, you can talk to your subconscious mind. We go to psychologists, psychiatrists, we take medications doctors give us to talk about our past, which comes from our subconscious mind. The reincarnation, we have exercises that help us to learn how to reincarnate also. To better understand the whole concept of reincarnation, I'd like to briefly discuss some of the background. Excuse me. First and foremost, the word reincarnation is Latin, means to be born again, to return to the flesh. Plato, one of the great philosophers, was quoted as saying, "The soul before it existed in this realm of being existed in the universe of beings." Plato also believed that we reincarnate as animals, which we really don't. That is not good. That's called transmutation, which does not exist. Ancient Egyptians based their religion on reincarnation. Osiris, who is considered to be the first pharaoh, when he died, all the succeeding pharaohs were believed to be the reincarnation of Osiris, the first pharaoh. The Egyptian Book of the Dead, which is one of the oldest recorded records, first orally then written, speaks fluently about reincarnation, how the souls are born again and again and again. In Eastern philosophy, the wheel of rebirth is a philosophy that describes how all souls must be born again and again until they do it right. Again, we hear the same theme, born again and again to improve, to be better, to elevate the level of the soul and consciousness. And the word reincarnation in Sanskrit means fire of desire. Now, the 12 apostles are said also to believe in reincarnation, quoting, "Man has been born in his sins which could not have come from this life alone. They have come from other lives as well." Come to the ancient Druids. They were the priestly class of people who inhabited Ireland, England, and parts of France and Germany, maybe 2 millennia or so. They believed that the soul came back again and again to reincarnate. They also believed that many souls took the form of rocks and trees, so they venerated rocks and trees. Being very superstitious people, they feared some of the souls who came back, and once a year, usually at harvest time, they would carve out pumpkins to ward off the souls. They believed the souls came from the underworld, and the medicine man, the Druid priests, were the ones to keep them away. One night a year, the souls, or the evil souls, would fly around on brooms, dressed in black, to scare the people. When the Christians came into that era, what they did was they adopted that as All Souls Day. Napoleon, our dear friend Napoleon, thought he was a reincarnation of Charlemagne, the emperor of Holy Roman Empire in 800 Common Era. Told all his generals constantly, "I am Charlemagne." Was he? Who knows? Who's to say? You can't prove he was, you can't prove he wasn't. Well-known Americans such as Alexander Graham Bell, Albert Einstein, and General George Patton, who thought he was the reincarnation of Caesar Augustus, who fought in Sicily during the campaign in 220 before Common Era. So this belief in reincarnation itself is nothing new. Even the great Baal Shem Tov a great Jewish mystic, believed that when children died young, it's because they had highly evolved souls and they didn't have to be reborn again. To prove to yourself that you've actually had prior lives, I've created a past life inventory. You will find this in the workshop along with procedures and exercises to help you relive your own past lives. Before we continue, I'd like to ask you several questions to prove to yourself that you too have lived before. I'm going to be asking you 6 questions. If you want the rest of them, you can log on to my website, jimweiss.net, and download the questions. You can always contact me if you have any questions about your answers yourself. Question number 1. As a child, do you remember people or events that neither you or your family had any connection? As a child, do you remember people or events that neither you or your family had any connection to? Number 2. Do you have any skills or talents that are drastically different from those of your family? Do you have any skills or talents that drastically differ from those of your family? Number 3. Do you ever dream of different times and places? Do you ever dream of different times and places? Next question. Have you ever met someone you have immediately liked or disliked? Have you ever met someone you immediately liked or disliked? Are you attracted to another period of time? Question number 5. Are you attracted to another period of time? Number 6. Do you have an intimate understanding of the opposite sex? Do you have an intimate understanding of the opposite sex? Again, there are 15 questions in all. You can download them at jimweiss.net. Take the quiz. Any questions, you can contact me right through the website and we'll discuss them together. My pleasure. Many people surprise themselves by asking them right. If you get 4 or more right, you have definitely relived a past life. You've had past lives. It's not guessing. They sound pretty easy, but they're not. If you stop to think about beyond the superficiality of it, they have a message in them. I have lived before, and this proves I have. Now, let us continue by discussing several ways to develop or relive your past lives. Remember, they're stored in our subconscious mind, and we have to trick our mind into giving it to us. It's like a vault. You can't get into the vault unless you have the right combination. But here are some of the things you can do yourself, or with family or friends. Many of my clients have done these exercises with a great deal of success. Again, before we start the exercises, the first thing you want to do is buy a notebook to record all your impressions and feelings, no matter how small they may be. Because you keep recording, you're going to have a whole list of impressions that add up to a past life. You can do these exercises many times as you want. They're quite harmless and they're fun to use. Matter of fact, some of my clients use them with their children, and with great success, because as I said, young children do not have much of a common memory, or they're not burdened by problems and anxieties and stress the way we are. Now, buy the notebook. And again, before I go on, if you have any questions about the exercises or need help, you can contact me directly at jimweiss.net. I'll be glad to talk to you, answer your questions. First exercise. Play your life in reverse. That's right. Play your life in reverse. Meaning, find yourself a comfortable place where you're not going to be disturbed, and start with today. Close your eyes, sit back, don't lay down, you might fall asleep, and that's not the intent of the exercise. You sit back, close your eyes, relax, and what you do is see today, tomorrow, go back to your 25th birthday if you're younger. Keep going back and back and back. Until finally you come to birth. You're not going to remember your birth. You might have memory when you're 3 years old or 2 years old or whatever. You can pretend you see your birth. Not many people can remember their birth. I don't think anybody can. I've never heard of it. See yourself being born and go back after that. You might just feel yourself in a prior life. Some of my clients report seeing themselves in a prior life. They get a glimpse of a prior life. Once you get a glimpse of a prior life, you can expand on it with the exercise, and you can do the same exercise again and again and again to get as much information as you possibly can. Excuse me. Above all, be patient and take your time. Some of my clients prefer working with a friend or a relative. But it's okay, now you're 40 years old, it's yesterday. You're going back to your 39th birthday, your 37th, 34th birthday. Remember where you are, who's with you. Go back to your 20th birthday, all the way back. The older you are, so the longer it's going to take, obviously. But write down, see yourself being born from your mother. Where were you before that? And before you're inside the womb, where were you? And you see yourself sometimes floating in another body, another place. One man did it, and he saw himself right in the middle of a battle in World War II. He was on D-Day, and as he saw that, he saw himself getting killed, blown up. You don't feel anything, it's just visual. You're not going to have any pain from it. People report very, very good results with that exercise. Play your life in reverse. Another exercise that I highly recommend, I've used it many times myself with success. Where do you belong in history? Everybody has a favorite place in history. Mine is World War II. Not that I like the war, but I've been studying World War II for 30 years. Books, movies. My friends and I talked about the weapons, the airplanes, the whole thing. Well, sure enough, I was regressed back to a past life, and I was in World War II. I died in 1942 on Wake Island, blown to shreds during an attack before the island was taken over by Japanese. How do I know that? Had the name of the person, where he lived, the whole thing. Sure enough, that exact person lived where I said he did and died exactly as I said. It was in the obituaries in a small newspaper in California, 1941, sorry. Pick a time in history. So, okay, but what do you do when you pick a time in history? Write about it. Write and write and write. What are you doing? You are focusing on that aspect of your being. Sure enough, you concentrate on doing that, your subconscious mind is going to kick in, say, yeah, you were back in the period of a civil war. One young lady was a civil war. She loved dresses and costumes and knives and the generals, everything about the Civil War. Sure enough, she saw herself in the Civil War as a young boy. The Confederacy, he was a drummer. And she said, he lived. Once you get it, the picture stays with you. He lived. He grew up and he went to school and he became a lawyer someplace in Mississippi. He lived. You could do this with someone too. At the same time, write it out together. Now, if you find a shred as she did, she brought the shred to me. She said, Jim, I saw myself as a drummer boy, and I know it beyond a, you know it's you, beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's recognizing yourself. Don't forget, it's the same fingerprint. It's you in a different body. Your consciousness is that part of you, I keep repeating that reincarnates again and again and again. That memory, that essence of you. And from there, I questioned her. What did you do after childhood? What happened to you? You were killed? No, I wasn't killed. It's once you open up that gate a bit, that crack, it's there. The memory increases as you talk to it. What happened to you? I lived in Mississippi. Who'd you live with? My mother. She died and I went to my aunt. What did you do? I became a lawyer. Who were you? And it goes on and on and on. I died when I was 45. I died of some disease. I just fell over dead. that was not the only person, and she was a male too. We were both sexes. We could be either sex. Say, I came back as a male. Okay. Because the consciousness doesn't know sexuality or gender. It doesn't. It just is what it is. Your time in history. This one, everybody has a time in history. Everyone, we all do. So if you say, I like a friend of mine, like ancient Greece. He studied Greek in school. He liked Greek. He really did. He loved it. He saw himself as some person in Greek. He was a woman. It wasn't a guy. He was a wife of some doctor or something in Greece. Back in, was it 400 BC or something or other? BCE. Because that's what he was. We don't forget. Some things are so strong in our memory bank that we hold on to it. Don't forget, we're the sum total of all our lives. It's like a friend of mine went to Vietnam, and he never held a gun in his life. He was a marksman. He took to the military in a second. He says, I was here before. I was in a war. I know it. Sure enough, I regressed him when he came home in the mid-60s, mid-70s, and he was in World War I. He was a kid from Brooklyn, died in World War I. There was a connection. Now, dream about your past lives. First of all, it's a two-step approach to this one. If done right, this is extremely accurate. First thing to do is to remember your dreams. I had a dream last night. Wow, what a great dream. I don't remember it. Well, what do? As you're falling asleep, you're in what is called the hypnagogic state. It's a state between waking and sleeping. It's a hypnotic state, by the way. When you hypnotize someone, you're in a hypnagogic state. As you're in that state, you begin by saying, I will awaken with a dream. I will awaken with a dream. You're programming your mind to give you a dream. A week or two, you learn more about yourself. Then, instead of saying, I'll awaken with a dream, you say, I will have a dream about a past life. Tonight, we'll have a past life memory. Tonight, I will have a past life memory. Keep it short. You're relaxing. As you're falling asleep, the last thing, after you have your milk and cookies, good night, I will awaken past life memory. I will have a past life memory. Play it again and again. Repeat it again and again. What are you doing? You're programming your subconscious mind to give you the information you want about a past life. Dude, I thought I had a dream. I was in Brooklyn back in 1937, and I'm only 40 years old. Where'd that come from? Past life. What were you doing? I was a kid playing stickball in the street. I got polio and I died when I was 15. Sorry to hear that. But you remembered it. Just keep repeating it with the dream. What you're doing is focusing on a dream. Just like I said to you, don't think about elephants. Do not think about elephants. When I talk to you about remembering a dream, it might just be spontaneous during the day also. When you ask your subconscious mind for something, it's going to give it to you. It always does. It's a very powerful, powerful place in our body. I will have a past life memory. I will have a past life memory. It's a shred. Write it down. As you write it down, even if you wake up in the middle of the night, write it down. Don't trust your memory. Don't ever do that because that's something. Write it down. And the more you write about it at night, the more it's going to come to you. It just keeps coming and coming and coming. I saw myself living in Louisiana in 1947. You know, I was married to a police officer and we had 2 sons. Keep whatever. Write it out. Write it. More will come to you. Think about that. What else was there? You go back and ask for the same tonight. I will have a past life memory. More may come to you. Why? Because we want to find out more about ourselves as we can. It's a whole process. Psychiatrists, psychologists, even theologians are using past life therapy to get to people's problems and to maximize their life. That's why we do it. That's the essence of this workshop and the essence of reincarnation, to make you a better person, to to heighten your being in this present life. That's the purpose of it. Now, one of my favorite exercises, it worked the first time I tried it. I don't believe it. It's called symbolic resonance. Symbolic resonance. What is symbolic resonance? I tripped onto this exercise, and I was reading a book about psychology. It was a psychological book written by, I think it was Jung, and he goes into something about symbolic resonance. They use it in therapy. We all have phrases, we all have sentences, we all have things we say constantly. Oh my God, I don't believe that happened. Oh yeah, right? I don't believe it. I can't believe he did that to me. Whatever your thing is, whatever your sentence is, you keep repeating because that sentence has a symbolic importance in a past life. Mine was the one I picked was, I can't take anymore. I just can't take anymore. I can't take anymore. I kept repeating it right at my dining room table. I was half asleep. And sure enough, I saw myself back in 1843. I picked it up to be hungry. And the people who were my parents were my children. And they wandered into a forest. And the wolves got them. And I feel guilty, but I didn't go into the woods after them. I was afraid to. Well, I know what they say about payback. My parents came back in this lifetime, and it was payback time. I didn't have such a great charm with them as a child. He said, I knew that was me sitting there. I saw myself sitting as a woodcutter or some kind of peasant, and I knew that the boy and girl running in the woods were my parents, and that they got eaten up by wolves, or boars, whatever the wild animals were in Hungary in those days, back in 1843. They were eaten up. That's an important exercise. Very important. I would try that one first. Last exercise. Very important one also. It may sound like a joke to you, but it's not a joke. It works. Find yourself a very comfortable place in front of a mirror. In front of a mirror, I said, yes, correct. Why? By not being narcissistic. If the mirror is a square mirror in front of you, if you have it stationed in front of you, you keep staring into the mirror. Why? Because if you do long enough, you're going to see the way you looked in past lives. Some people say they were frightened by, that was me. That was me 300 years ago. I live in a small village. I could saw myself with a scar on my eye hanging out of my head. Again, I have to say, we do not come back as the queen or the king of the ball. We come back as just ordinary people. Very ordinary. Concentrate on that mirror. Give yourself 15 minutes, quiet of course. You don't want people running back and forth. Actually, what you're doing by relaxing yourself, you're letting your conscious mind relax. And your subconscious mind knows what you want in one past life. It's attuned to what you are doing. I saw myself back in 1840, after I did 1843, the resonance exercise, I saw myself as I look back in that time. I knew it was me. You'll know it's you. Any of the exercises you do, you will recognize yourself. There's an exercise I do with people on a one-on-one, where they take them on a long, hypnotic, symbolic trip. When they get there, and they open up a door, whatever they're doing, they're walking into a past life, and they're standing right there in a past life, as if they are standing on stage with actors. There is no emotional feeling to it whatsoever, because it's a shade of who you are. But you see who you are, where you are, and you learn the lessons you had to learn in a past life. I do that on one-to-one. There's information on a packet about that. I can't do that in a group, and too many people not relaxing. It takes time to do that. About half an hour to 45 minutes to do that. If people come in with some astounding, everybody usually does. It's a past life out of it. Because again, you're triggering a past life memory bank. That's the point of all these exercises, to find out who we are. Before we finish, remind you that we reincarnate for more than one reason. To find out who we are as people. To know that death is not the end of our existence. Our mind, our consciousness survives us. I had a client come in and she was depressed and upset. And the doctor knew me, she was a psychiatrist. Why don't you see Jim, let him take you back to a past life. She saw herself back in 1961 committing suicide. She took a bottle of pills. She went into detail about it. Again, there's no emotion involved in it. It's just seeing who you are, not who you are. And she saw herself, I saw myself falling into a deeper and deeper sleep. I wanted to wake up, but I couldn't. I couldn't move, I couldn't get up. I wanted to call my husband, but I knew I couldn't reach him and I was dying. And I died. She described her husband. She knew the color of the spread, the whole thing which was going on. She said, I think he's still dead. He dead. He died a couple of years later. People report that it's so real because it is part of us. We are not the only people reincarnate. Been doing it since creation itself, since man first inhabited the earth. They've been proving it more and more. The 21st century have been the centuries of proving that we have lived before. If you have any questions, or you need help with the exercises, or just want to contact me about reincarnation, you may do so at my website, jimweiss.net. Thank you very much. Before we conclude, here are some of the most frequently asked questions people have been asking about reincarnation over the last 35 years. Why can't I remember it in my past lives? My response is, can you remember you had for lunch last Wednesday? We can't. You would want all the pain and suffering of all the lives you've had in the past. Do I have a soulmate? Yes, we all do. Matter of fact, many of us, or all of us, have more than one soulmate. Why do we have soulmates? Supposedly, upon birth of the soul, it splits in half or double, and we are the other half of our soul. Can we prove it? No. Was I ever famous in one past life? Not likely. Most of us come back as ordinary people, living, dying. No. Do we ever reincarnate as animals? No. Never happened. That's transmutation. Plato stated that. No, we do not. Why do we reincarnate so many times? For to do it right. The essence of the soul is to elevate. That's the main idea of our soul, to elevate. Why do I often feel as if I'm in the wrong time, in the wrong place? Because part of you is getting out of past life. We were in someplace else with other people. You remember the feeling tone, but not exactly when and where it was. How do I know I'm living a past life and just a memory, of making it up? Of all the thousands of people I've regressed, I'd say about 30 to 35% of them have actually been able to prove through documentation that they've lived before. Also, my clients report it feels well. It feels right. This is me. I know it's me from a past life. I can feel the essence of myself. Yes, you can. Regression to one of my past lives cause emotional problems for me? No. When I regress my clients, when you do it on your own with the exercise I provide for you, what it is, you're an actor standing on a stage watching a play. You are not any part of it. You feel no pain. You're totally detached. That's a shadow of who you are, not who you are now. But people do report learning about their purpose in life, learning how to make their life better, learning more about their soulmate or relatives or friends they've been reincarnated with. How many past lives have I had? Hundreds, 1,000, many, many, many. We reincarnate continuously until we do it right. If you need more information about this, you can contact me directly or at jimweiss.net. Or if you have questions about your own past life experience, you can contact me also at jimweiss.net. Please feel free to contact me. I'm here to help you with your own past life regression program. Thank you.